Welcome, everybody, back to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. Joining me tonight is my friend Steve Stathis from BG Cast and, of course, the Forbidden Knowledge Network. Steve and I are going to get into some interesting topics tonight, including the subtle body and prana and chi, as well as, both of us kind of like to just go off in every direction. So we will see where this conversation takes us and buckle up because these always get interesting. So, welcome back, Stephen, and thank you for joining me. Do you want to pop into what we were just about to talk about, or do you want to go into the subtle body first?
We'll save that to the end, man. First off, thanks for having me on, Don. It's always awesome to be here. I always appreciate you having me on. Yeah, man, let's dive into the subtle body real quick because I one of the biggest things that I'm trying to do is dispel the notion that this is just a metaphysical spiritual woo concept because based on experiences that I've had and based on a lot of other experiences from people that I've spoken to, this is a very real thing. This is a part of our makeup as human beings. We have this energetic system within us. I actually, what I'll do is I'll send you the NIH article that I posted. But for those who are looking for some kind of evidence, I have this for you. There was an NIH study done on energy meridian points in the human body. Now, despite the fact the study states it was inconclusive, however, they found some very interesting things. They did find a lot of the node points and the connection points through surgical procedures that where these meridians do tie in into the certain areas of the body, which I found profoundly fascinating and I found profoundly interesting. And you know how topics are like this, and I do believe that's why they said it came up inconclusive, although they had tons of photo evidence for this. They had beyond that. But if you already believe this and you don't want proof, this is a very real thing. We can train this. And as we train our subtle bodies, we become more receptive to the information that the divine is throwing out there to us. We accelerate our healing process. That's one thing a lot of us do on our spiritual evolutions is we do the inner work. Not everybody, but a lot of us do. And this can help you, at least in my eyes, through what I've experienced and what other people have experienced, this can help solidify permanently a lot of the healing. And it can also solidify a lot of deep revelations and remembrances that you're having on your spiritual evolution as well. So I find it just a very beneficial thing to talk about, to get to know, and to learn how to utilize it, man.
I think that says it very nicely, like what we're going to get into. And it also kind of ties into that paper that I had downloaded into my brain, because my conclusion of that was like our bodies, physical and energetic, are what creates reality. And like I've seen countless examples of like people's emotional and physical energy affecting their realities, their surroundings, and other people, right? Like Spinge is a friggin' prime example. Like she works with an Asian lady who is constantly telling her, she's like, we shouldn't be able to do that in that little time. We shouldn't. And this woman, her family is old school Chinese and has a freaking sewing factory in China. So her work ethic is looking at Finja going, we can't do that in that little time. How'd that happen? Like she's confused because I believe they're getting into a flow state and their energetic bodies are just kind of warping what's going on around them because of their projection. So I love this subject and I love that this ties into that.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's even like the bottom line thing about this is we're beings of energy. And even if you want to take the bare basic consensual narrative definition, I mean, we have electricity flowing through us at all times, these nervous impulses, these nerves, these synapses, these signals that are fired, but we're more than just that. I mean, that really ties down into consciousness also itself as an energy. And yes, I am completely convinced in the case with Spinja that yeah, she's tapping into what I would call some kind of collective flow state, to where their energies and their frequencies are in unison and they are able to basically almost in a way slow down their perspective of time, or at least slow down the general perspective of time that's in that vicinity, to achieve these daunting tasks in what seems like, just a few short minutes or an hour or so. And this just comes into play when we also too, the big thing about our subtle bodies. So one thing a lot of people, I guess need to understand when we're approaching this subject is there's a reciprocating Ouroboros. And I've used this term a lot because Ouroboros, the snake eating itself, is the best kind of symbolic representation that I can give this. That if you have issues with your physical body, they very well could have to do with something energetic in your subtle body. And that's why I think it is a very good thing for us to work this subtle body to understand it. Because what this will ultimately do too is this will clear up the energetic blockages that we have. Now, energetic blockages can manifest themselves in all different kinds of ways. I mean, we could have an energetic blockage in our throat chakra if we have a hard time expressing ourselves, or we can't really speak what we're thinking or relay ourselves in a true, authentic manner. And when we have a lot of anger or temper issues and things like that, that's because we have a blockage in the Manipura chakra and maybe in the Ida and Pingala nadis that are surrounding this. So 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 a lot of these physical and mental health symptoms that we could be experiencing in our day-to-day life could have energetic causes, and that's just also something too when we breach this topic. And I mean, honestly, working the subtle body, it's not anything crazy. It's in fact, it's quite simple. It just takes a little bit of know-how. It takes an understanding of the subtle body system, which we're going to get into, and it just really will formulate itself into what I call a type of internal alchemy. And these are what kind of help train your subtle body. You can choose whatever type of inner alchemy you want, whether you're doing Kriya Yoga, whether you're doing Qigong, whether you're doing something like the tapas, which is another aspect of yoga as well. Um, there's many different ways we can train this, and the flow state comes with tapping into the subtle body as well, which is great because once you're aware of this subtle nature of yourself, it will actually open up your everyday waking conscious perspective into seeing the subtle aspects of this reality as well.
Um, so going from there, where would you suggest people start? Like, if they're just figuring out all of this energy work and all of this clearing yourself, where would you suggest people start to become more in tune with the subtle body and their own energies?
Well, the first one I would recommend, I mean, this is just bare basic. I would definitely recommend just a sound daily meditation practice, number one. So, when we meditate and we learn to view our thoughts from an objective point of view and allowing them to pass without attachment, I just want to make that clear here because there's a lot of people who say that meditation is when you stop thinking. Not at first. You will get there as you get better at meditation. But what meditation truly is watching your thoughts pass by you like a leaf passing down a stream. You observe the leaf, you see it going down the stream, but do you reach out and grab the leaf? No. Do you reach out and try to divert the leaf's path? No. You allow it to go on its merry way. And that's what meditation first is. And as you get good at it, then you will notice the thoughts will start to quiet down. But what meditation does is it takes us into our neutral mind, which is an aspect of the subtle body. And in our neutral mind, this is where we tap into the flow state, which is great because and that's what I would honestly call the neutral mind. The neutral mind and the flow state go hand in hand, at least in my opinion. But meditation would be a first place. The second place, as if you were starting to, I guess you could say, move up and get more interested in the subtle body training, is Qigong. Now, Qigong, for some of you who don't know what it is, I know we've talked about it on Don's show a few times, but this would be what I would call Taoist yoga. It is a form of inner alchemy that works with your energy meridians and your three dantians. Excuse me, which is funny because if you look at, what I will do is I'll send you some photos too. Um, I wish I could pull it up here, but there's if you hold up the Taoist inner alchemy chart from the Nidhan and Qigong, and you hold up what you would know as the Vedic or the yogic subtle body chart. They're
I can
almost
switch
identical.
control of the meeting to you.
Yeah, no, you're all good, man. Yeah, you can switch controls. It's totally up to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Hold on, I'll send it over to you real fast. But I mean, let's look up here. But no, so qigong. So you have three primary dantians, which you'll notice. Uh, Taoist. So let me see here. Taoist, subtle body. Yep. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'll send you this image, Don, on FB Messenger real quick, and you can bring it up real fast. But so this is going to be
Oh,
the
you
Taoist.
can.
Let me see if I'll send it over to you, man, and we can do like a little layout for it at the end. But the
Yeah.
Taoist, or the I guess you could say the more um Asian or Taoist aspect of the subtle body, you have the three dantians. You have your upper dantian, which just happens to be right where, the crown chakra and the third eye chakra are. You got your middle dantian, which just happens to be where your throat and your heart chakra is. And then you got your lower dantian, which is right by the navel. And that's where your lower three chakras are, your lower triangle. So Qigong would be something that I highly recommend as a good second step to learning how to cultivate and understand your subtle body. And what you will begin to notice as you practice this Qigong, you'll begin to feel your energy. You'll begin to feel your subtle body. And this is like a really, I'd say it's a good stepping stone, at least in my eyes, from my experience, from what I've been through. It's a good stepping stone to getting to know your subtle body. And the third one would be stuff like the Nidon practices, which the Nidon practices are neither Taoist or Buddhist. They're like every kind of spirituality has its own little esoteric like expansion pack that kind of comes on with it. And they don't claim that it's part of the spirituality, but it's offered for you to look at if you want to, investigate and get to know it and things like that. The Nidon practices, or a form of Kriya or Kriya yoga. And what this will do is, at least in my opinion, it will help alchemize your subtle body and bring it into a better state of cultivation. And the one thing I'll say about the Nidon practices and Kriya yoga is you will feel this stuff instantaneously. And that's why, like, like a lot of people, one thing we do in this community a lot is we talk about these concepts, but I feel there's very few people who are actually going out and trying to experience these concepts as well. And that's where I'm coming in. I'm coming in to come in and experience these concepts and to try these concepts out to see if they're actually something. And I'll tell you this, there is absolutely something to it, Don. 100%. You will feel something after your first Nidhan practice or your first Kriya session. Even after your first Qigong session, I would even say that you will feel an immediate effect, an immediate result. And I think that's something a lot of people do in the Western world, which is great because this caters to that mess Western mentality of I need it instantaneously. I need to instantly experience something. Well, lo and behold, dude, I got you on this. You're going to instantly experience something just from one session of doing this. And then that's something I can wholeheartedly say.
Um, that kind of leads into my next question. Can you give a basic on aligning and clearing your chakras, basically like a for dummies, if there is such a thing? Because a lot of people in the community are like, they kind of gloss over the whole subject of the chakras. They're like, oh, my chakra's this, my chakra's that. I'm like, what the fuck is a chakra? And that was me 8 months ago. Like, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it. I didn't know where it was. So is there like a quick for dummies on the chakras
Absolutely.
themselves?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can contract your chakras. You know what I mean? You can actually kind of feel. So the first one that you can contract all right, is your root chakra. So we have Manipura chakra, and not Manipura, Muladhara chakra. My apologies. Muladhara chakra is going to be located right in your perineum, which is the base of your spine. It is in between your hoo-hoo dilly and where you go to the bathroom, to put it lightly. But you can contract this area. So this is part actually a chakra lock, which is known as Mula Bandha. So when you contract the area around your perineum, and when you combine it with contracting your navel, this is what's known as Mula Band. And this is a lock. So what this lock will do is that it will transfer a lot of your sexual and your creative energy into your upper through your Manipura chakra, which is your solar plexus chakra, into your Anahata chakra, which is your heart in the higher centers. So this is one quick thing you can do. A good way to do this, honestly, is to sit down in a meditative position, hold the contraction in your perineum, and do a breath of fire. So for some of you guys who have not done a breath of fire before, it's the you just basically it's like a panting breath and you're breathing with your navel, and you can hold this chakra lock and do a breath of fire for 2 minutes. And what you'll come to find is you'll start to feel a warmth kind of start to come over that area and start to travel upwards. And then where you kind of start to continue to carry that energy is something called Uliana Bond. Now, what Udiana or Uliana, depending on where you're thinking, it is actually contracting your solar plexus. And how you contract your Manipura chakra, your solar plexus, is you lift your diaphragm up. So you'll exhale all the air, and then you'll act like you're going to take a breath, and you'll lift up the diaphragm. So what this does is it takes that energy that you're sending up through your first and your second chakra, and it's purifying that energy in your solar plexus chakra, because the solar plexus chakra or Manipura chakra is our inner fire. It's our inner purification. And that's why, like I was saying in the beginning, that if we got blockages there in our Manipura chakra, um, basically what's going to happen is you're going to have a very bad temper, you're going to be angry, you're going to have like a almost hostile outlook on life. And that was something that I used to have a huge blockage in, was my solar plexus chakra. So I experienced that, and I remember through doing this inner alchemy, and even before I was doing Kriya, when I was doing Qigong and other different types, that I've started to notice this blockage disappear, and therefore I was able to heal the temper that I once had. So this is another simple method. And then as far as your next one that you can lock, you have throat lock. So this is called Jalandhar Bond. So it's when you take your chin and you bring it to your chest like this, and what you're doing is you're holding that energy in between your throat, your heart, and your solar plexus chakras to get it stabilized before you move up into the higher two. So then we have third eye lock. So third eye lock is just staring very intently at your third eye. And what you will notice once you do this is when you do that, you stare at it, it's almost you feel like a muscle flexing. And this is like the best way I can describe it to people is it's almost like a muscle, like you can contract your third eye like a muscle. So this is a very good beginner method for people to start to experience their chakras, how it works, okay, how to move energy from the lower triangle, which is your bottom three chakras, up into the higher triangle. But here's the thing I want to put out there too. So many of us in this community, we only focus on the higher triangle. We have to have a good and balanced lower triangle to be able to cultivate a good and balanced higher triangle. So if you think you're too good to work on your third, second, and first chakras, like oh, I'm beyond that. I'm up here in the heart and the throat and the. If you think you're too good to be doing that, I suggest you think again, and I suggest that you always revisit that, because we have to have let's look at a building. So like if we have a building with a shit foundation and we try to build all this stuff on top of the building, what's going to happen? The building's going to fall. But if we have an amazing foundation, a very strong and solid foundation for this building, where when we erect this building, it's going to stand for time memoriam, right? So that's why I tell a lot of people that's a big thing in our community, John. It's like they're like, oh, I'm up in my throat chakra. I'm up in my third eye. I'm like, man, go take a visit down to your lower three, get those in balance and harmony. And then when you come back up to the the other four, you're gonna notice some really wonderful things just occurred.
That's actually something I want to start trying to practice more myself. And I find this really relatable because my firstborn child was natural birth and I was 18 years old and I was a gung ho ready to go dad. So I was there for the Lamaze classes and the prenatal shit. And what you described with that first lock is damn near childbirth prep or some of the
Mm-hmm.
Lamaze practices because they actually, what you're describing is basically for a girl would be flexing your Kegel muscle. For a dude, it's kind of like flexing your tank. But they actually taught us how to do that. And then they followed it by a rapid succession of breathing. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the euphoric state that you're going to get in childbirth as it's starting. And I'm like, listening to you explain that, and I'm like, holy shit. So, like, that's
That's
literally
very
part of this whole practice.
That's very interesting because I've
Yeah.
never been to a Lamaze. I've never been to a Lamaze class. I don't have any kids yet. Hopefully one day. But no. It is very interesting because you have to think kind of where the baby comes out. It's right by the root chakra, like it's literally right there.
Yeah.
So it makes sense as
Yeah.
to why they would want to. And plus two, it's almost like the transcendence of I've always theorized that when a woman's given birth, like there's this energy that enters through her crown, comes down, and transcends to assist in that process, because women are portals for life. I mean, that's something that they can do that we can't.
Oh,
But that's very interesting. That's really cool to know.
well, yeah. And that actually kind of like when you're explaining it that way with the light coming through and then you're pushing it out through your root chakra, like that kind of finishes the whole thought that I was going with there. That's fucking
Awesome.
brilliant.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I could help with that, man. No, and I think you will find these correlations in a lot of different things, and the reason why, and the one thing I always say, Don, is like it really is the truth's hidden in plain sight. You just have to know how to look for it. You have to know where to dig for it. And as people increase on their spiritual evolution, they'll start to understand a little bit of what that is. They'll start to see that, wow, like this thing that we're doing in the Western world really resembles like this ancient Vedic concept that's like thousands upon thousands of years old. So there, like there's always that correlation, there's always that tie-in, and it's just very interesting when you could see how we borrow in these different practices in that way.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's a definite overlay in a lot of this stuff. Like, I've been looking, like, Spin and I have both been looking into energy work, and it's like, okay, but that sounds like this part of that. And she's into German, I always screw this up, German New Medicine or whatever it is. And
Mhm.
it's kind of relatable there. And this fits in here. All of this is like ancient cultures and ancient knowledge that have been taken away from us, just like our abilities, right? And
Absolutely.
it's just kind of been dumbed down and taken away and stripped away, and we've become more reliant and compliant. And it's these practices that we need to get back into because, like, me and Spen were just talking about this before the show, referencing Field of Dreams. We now look like the people that didn't see the baseball players at first, right? We're
Hmm.
here creating reality and we can see all of these things, and everybody else thinks like, you guys are nuts. What the fuck are you talking about? Right. And it's just strange because, like, when you start to discover what used to be knowledge, you seem crazy.
Oh, exactly, man. And the one thing I was going to say is this too. It's like, you brought up a very good point. Um, we in this society, because even working with the subtle body in these practices, not only will these practices, help your subtle body, they will give you what I would call a very, very amazing batch of physical longevity and health. And that's the thing, Don, is in Western civilization and in Western culture, we've been conditioned to think our health is complex. We've been conditioned to think the solutions to these issues that we face, whether these issues we face on a societal level, whether these issues we face on interpersonal levels, emotional levels, or physical levels, are absolutely complex, and we require assistance to help alleviate this. Honestly, there is a very perfect recipe for total body, not just subtle, but subtle physical, emotional, and total body health and longevity. And it has to do with this as well. And this is one of the best kept secrets that the medical industrial complex does not want you to know. Because if they knew you could heal yourself simply by having a positive mindset, not being in a constant state of mesmerized terror, just by breathing deeply and getting in oxygen. Okay, on top of that as well, understanding and working with your subtle body and taking good care of your physical body as well, you will, I will say, almost never be sick. Almost never. And I'm not going to say never because I don't want the FDA coming for me, but I'm going to say almost never be sick. And then on top of that as well, you will have a very long life on top of that, and you will retain a somewhat youthful appearance. I mean, I've been doing these inner alchemy processes um since I started at like 25, 26, and people still consistently tell me to this day I look like I'm 25 or 26. I do not look 36. So I mean there's definitely something to that, and I think you kind of hit the point home with that, man, is that we're coming across this information and this knowledge, and we see this works, but when we try to bring something as simple as this to your average person, they're going to be like, there's no way, man, there's no way, that's not going to work. And it's like, I get you on that.
Yeah, and this is something I don't share often, and people can call bullshit, but I can sit here and smile about it. It's not something I'm proud of. I didn't always take the best care of myself, and a couple of my teeth broke about 2 months ago.
Oh
And
man.
I should be an absolutely agony. It's why I do a lot of my interviews with my hand in front of my mouth. I should
Mhm.
be in absolutely excruciating pain, and when it first happened, it did. I meditated and I did some breathing, and I actually went within myself to like molecular size and went into my own mouth and asked the surrounding nerves to stop. And I
Very
shit
good.
you not, Stephen, my mouth hasn't hurt in 2 months.
Very good. Well, because dude, I mean, even what you're talking about, like Dr. Joe Dispenza did that. Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, I'm not the biggest Dr. Joe freak. I think he's great. I think he's done some great things, and he's brought some very valuable information to the table for our society. I mean, do I worship the ground he walks on like some people do? No, but as far as his information, I do think it's highly useful, and it is true. I mean, he healed his back from that. I don't remember if it was a car accident or something he was in, but he healed his back over the course of this succession of time just strictly with visualization meditation. And this is a real thing. Like this is a real thing. And it's like, and it's because, us in the Western world, we've been conditioned to think that our health is complex, and it's so complex that we don't even truly understand it ourselves, when that can be the farthest thing from the truth. We each and all have the ability to heal ourselves.
Well, and you kind of alluded to it earlier. Most of the Western world doesn't even realize that you're not actually a physical solid body. You're a compilation of sentient molecules, right? All this is a complex system of molecules that all vibrate at the same frequency and work in agreement to become this, right? It's not one solid thing. You can go in and control each little thing. You just have to take yourself there. They're all yours.
Exactly.
You control all of them. If you put them under the microscope, you'll see them. You'll need to go to a science center to do that. But like, we are not a solid thing, but you are in control of every cell in your body. And
Absolutely.
again, people can call bullshit on me all they want, but I know it firsthand because my mouth doesn't hurt.
Well, it's what that is when people, like I said, it's that conditioning, that we have here in the Western world. Is, we're conditioned to think that only pharmaceuticals and surgeries can heal us. And that was purposefully done. That's a different combo for another time, don't get me wrong, but yeah, that was purposefully done, so you would basically give the power of your own health away to other people who are making money off of you being in bad health, and not just making money off of you being in bad health. They want return and repeat customers, so they're going to tell you that you need us, you need to come back to us. And really, there's so many, and that's what happened, man. It all began, I'll go deep a little into it. It all began with the Rockefeller, the smear campaign in the 20s. Because you can use petroleum products and pharmaceuticals. So Rockefeller hired a board of scientists to basically smear campaign natural medicine. And that all got taken out of the pharmacopoeia in the 20s, any kind of natural medicine, and now got swapped to being alternative medicine. And basically, this is when the pharmaceutical industry and the modern medicine industries, we know, it kind of took hold. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying that modern medicine hasn't helped people to a degree. I know there's in some instances that it has. I can be completely open to that. But as far as the greater majority of people who have gone through the healthcare system, they always end up sicker when they leave. They always end up um, in worse shape or needing more meds after these procedures that maybe they wouldn't need if they just took a different option. And one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this when it comes to our health, a big reason is I lost one of my best friends back in 2013. He was like a brother from another mother to me. And he had Crohn's. He had a really bad case of Crohn's disease. And God bless you, Noah. Still think about you, bro. And freaking but he had a really bad case of Crohn's disease. And I remember the doctors just kept giving him the runaround on treatments and things like that, and his condition kept getting worse. And I remember, like, I had a conversation with him. I'm like, dude, I think it's time we start trying other things. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, obviously you've gone through this on multiple occasions, and like, he was not. I was very early on my spiritual evolution at that point. He was not. I think that's because his consciousness knew he was having a short life here, and he was not meant for this go around. But I remember even arguing with him about it, because like he wanted to stick with what his doctor was telling him. And I remember, like, almost like breaking down, like going like, dude, don't you want to like grow old together? Don't you want to get married, like have our wives be friends? Don't you want our kids playing with each other and like all of this stuff? So it's still a very wrenching moment for me. But this is what kind of drove my passion into this. That was an aspect of it.
I I do because Spin's mom passed away from cancer and was on an experimental treatment that was suddenly not working, but she was getting better. So I I've seen the medical industry affect people I love in deep ways. And it's interesting that I just saw a clip where it was a doctor explaining that anything pharmaceutical at this point is controlling your symptoms, not treating them. They
Mm-hmm.
control your blood pressure, they control your diabetes, they control your thyroid. Think about the way they're wording it. It's the truth right in your
Mm.
face.
Oh, absolutely, man. And that's why we have to redefine, and it's up to us to what we know as health. What is true health? What is true medicine? But nonetheless, let's get to prana and
Yeah.
chi. Yeah, let's get to
Yes.
prana and
Sorry.
chi. So one thing I think a lot of people might be um very interested to find is they're one and the same. So chi becomes chi when we inhale it as prana and we intake it into our body. So think of prana as the information for the energy. And as we inhale prana, that information of energy contributes itself to our energy. Even though we are sharing energy with everything around us, we have what I would say, our own conscious energy that stands out from the energy around us. And what happens is when we intake this breath and we intake the prana, it contributes itself to our being. So the prana is not just a form of energy, it's information as well. The universe sends information, the divine sends information through this prana. So as we're inhaling this, what I would call informational energy, it's contributing to our energy, and the information within it is contributing to us. So that's why I don't know if you've heard of breatharians, people who just live off of prana. It's a very real thing, and it's got to be done right. Okay, and that's the number one thing. Like, that is the ultimate goal of this. Eventually, you want to learn your body, to have your body learn to survive off of prana itself, or heavenly chi itself. And that's where you get the breatharian concept, and that's why you hear these stories, or these legends or myths of these individuals who live to be 3, 4, 500 years, and they don't eat. They just exist off of prana. And this would ultimately be kind of what we would be working towards in this case. Of course, that's a long process. I'm not saying anybody should jump into that right off the rip. I'm 100%. I myself haven't even jumped into that off the rip, because I love food. Don't get me wrong. I'm human. That's one part of this temporary human experience here that I enjoy, is some good food, just as the rest of you all probably do. And this is something we work towards. This isn't something that we jump into head first. Getting to that point takes years and years of practice, of cultivation, of developing that subjective inner standing of your divine nature, and the makeup of your divine nature and your subtle body. But ultimately, prana and chi are one and the same. When you inhale the prana, that's the best way I can describe it, although I'm sure people are going to yell at me for saying it this way. But for just the sake of being efficient with what I'm trying to say, that's what it is. We inhale the prana, and then it becomes chi. And so they're almost one and the same. And that's why when you notice a lot of the qigong practitioners, it almost feels, when they're moving their hands through these forms, they're moving against some kind of resistance. And that's because as you get better at what you're doing, you'll ultimately learn how to feel this energy. You'll learn how to feel it. Imagine a very light and fluffy static electricity. That's probably like the best way. That's the best way I can describe it. A good exercise to get to know prana, is actually this, and it's a kriya, but again, breath of fire. So what you'll do is you'll sit there, and you'll do breath of fire for 3 to 5 minutes. And then at the end of the 3 to 5 minutes, what you'll do is you'll do an inhale, and you'll inhale all your breath in. And then I want you to squeeze that root chakra and that navel, the mula bandh, while you hold that breath in for as long as you can. Don't strain yourself. Do it to a comfortable level your first time. And then exhale, and then lay down on the ground. And then what you'll notice is you'll feel like this. I'm trying to do the motion of how it feels, because it's kind of hard to describe. I'm trying to take what I put into words. But you'll feel like this whooshing, this almost like this reverberating kind of all over your body. Like, you'll notice it. And it almost takes on sometimes what I would call a fractaline appearance as well. And this is the prana. And it's a very simple exercise to get to know how it feels, to get to work with it, and to gain an understanding of how your body, both physical and subtle, takes it in and utilizes it. So, like, this is just a very good, fantastic beginner's exercise for that.
I was picking up what you're putting there, and I have to ask, is it almost like a comfortable body static that you're explaining? Like it kind of goes over you.
Exactly.
I
It's a comfortable. It's
I've
like
done that
that's
by
what I.
accident, but
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's what it is. That's why I call it like a light and fluffy version of static electricity. Because if you get hit with a good static shock, you're like, ooh,
oh
I kind of felt that a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? This, you don't get that. It's very comfortable. But it feels like it could be a static electricity. That's like the best kind of, like, I don't know. Guess best analogy I could use to describe it.
yeah, and I think that pretty well sums up aligning yourself with your subtle body, your energetic body, and your spiritual body. Now, since we're talking about bodies, you and I have some weird similarities. And I want to get into this
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
I had never seen Steven and I face to face, like face to face, until the other day on a show. And I was like, oh my God, I look like his rough uncle. And then with the similarities that you and I have discussed, it almost seems pattern-esque because like
Oh yeah.
you and I had similar traumas at similar ages, similar challenges with, substances at similar ages. It 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 kind of relates back to what you were talking about the programs, and it's weird, the more people that I'm finding that are spiritually in tune are the same ones that have gone through the same shit. And I mean, sometimes it's like it's verbatim. Like you and I are 10 years apart, but you could line our ages up and it would look like, oh, look, they did that. Oh, look, they did that. Oh, look, they did that. And me, I think that's a little bizarre. What is your take and feel on that? Because it's kind of messed up when you think about it.
Well, so this is what I'm gonna say. There's a couple of different ideas I could throw out there. If we're gonna take this certain route, it's very possible you and I could be fractals of the same archetype. So one experience I had, albeit it was on psychedelic mushrooms, but one experience I had, but it resonated so deeply with me. So back when I was 25, 26, I had this experience on psychedelic mushrooms where I saw the birth of the universe and or the birth of what we know as the universe today. And there was the primordial Om, the vibration rippled out, and then the divine consciousness started to organize the physical realm. And then the divine consciousness created the original seven archetypal beings. So then gave the task to these archetypal beings to incarnate themselves into this reality so Source could experience it. And what happened was over time, these archetypal beings fractalized and scattered and became us. And I was told in this experience, in this vision that I had, that I was a fractal of the seventh archetype. Now, if you look at the seven gods, the seven deities, the seven pantheons, or the seven and the major seven pantheon of gods that exists throughout all cultures, you can see the similarity. They were very potentially the archetypal beings. I don't know, but this was what that experience told me. So that's why, Mary, you and I could have what I call a very similar energetic imprint on this existence, and we've had similar experiences that brought us to where we are. There is also the idea that there is something like a soul family of some kind. I totally I'm open to that. I know it's a little bit more on the new agey side of things, but I mean, who am I to say I know that it's not a thing? I mean, it very well could be. So like that's also something too. And then the third one, that I kind of feel it could potentially be, is that we've attempted this timeline before. We've gotten to know each other before. This is another go round on this timeline, and potentially we picked up things from each other the last time around, or our consciousness picked things up from each other and was like, hey, this helped him get him to this state a lot faster than this. So maybe I will implement this or I will implement this. And of course, it's very possible, dude, you could be a parallel existence of mine. It's like, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, and it is. There are a lot of very, very interesting similarities that you and I have, but I mean, honestly, I'm open to it, man. I think we should. That's why I want to get you down here, and I want to get you in a mushroom tea ceremony, man, and then we can like we can have Chris guide us, and we could we could really dive in deep on this and see something about that, man, because it's highly interesting. I will definitely say that.
Yeah, and for the listeners that have no idea what the hell we're talking about, Steven and I met. Spinja listened to FKN. She found Chris, and then found Steven, and she was the one who put me on your radar. Like, she's like, you have to listen to this guy, and I'm like, why? right? I'm still in the middle of my podcast stuff and figuring out who I want to listen to and who suck, who I don't like. And I was getting exasperated with it. And I was like, why? And she's like, because he sounds just fucking like you. I'm like, what? She had my attention. I'm like, what? And she played me an episode and I'm like, I understood everything that dude just said. So I
And
sent a message.
I'm happy. I'm happy,
And
man, because that's what I try to do. That's what I try to do.
and like from random stranger on Facebook after watching one episode of your show to explaining my theory of the universe in a matter of months, it feels like I've known you for the last 30 years. Like
Oh,
it
100%.
seriously does. And that in itself is a bizarre concept because it freaks me out now when the people I used to chill with just message me. They're like, oh, hey. And I'm like, oh, right. You're still here. Right. How the hell are you? How's the third dimension? How's that third density? I fucking forgot all about you because like I literally slipped into this community of high vibrational people, and I gotta say, Project of Oblivion is failing miserably because the assholes are shaking themselves out like head lice, and it's just going to be the positive ones left. You know who I'm talking
Oh,
about.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it just feels like I woke up from what was a dream to my real life, and this is everybody I actually knew. Now, there's some people that, like in a dream, you wake up and you still know them. But largely in part, this is like everybody that I've already knew from a different existence, and they're just all of a sudden in my life. And I mean, like you, Chris, Karen, Jennifer, like it feels like you guys are coming to my freaking wedding.
It's a
Like it
tribe, man.
feels like I've like known you for years, and it just blew my mind when we started making these.
Oh, dude, of course, man, of course. No, and I love that, because I honestly feel right now all of us have gotten to the place where we need to be, where we're supposed to be right now, and this is our tribe, man. These are the people that resonate with our frequency, and it's like Chris, especially, man. I feel like I've known Chris for like a decade at this point. I've only known Chris for like 2 going on 3 years at this point, but I feel like I've known Chris and Jen for a decade. Jen reminds me a lot of my mom. I haven't told her that. I'm sure she'll see this when I talk to her about it, but she does. She reminds me a lot of my mom. I've always felt very comfortable around Jen, like on a very deep, same with Chris. Like, it's strange how, like, because for somebody like me, it takes me a while to get comfortable enough with you to, like, really let myself hang out, I guess, is like the best way. And like Steve No Holds Barred, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
but with them it was almost instantaneous, just like same with you. It's like almost instantaneous. It's like, we know, like, we know each other on such a profoundly deep level, like just outside of the physical, that I feel that we've all done this before together. Like, that's how, even going back to the timeline thing, it's very possible that we've attempted. Frank Castle would kind of agree with what I'm saying here a little bit as well. Like, that we've attempted this timeline before. This is another time at us attempting it. We're supposed to do it right this time around, supposedly. But if we've all experienced this with each other before, that could definitely be, or potentially be, where that sense of familiarity comes from, on how we are so similar and we do know these things about ourselves.
And I love that you're going into the fractalization and stuff. And I know we've been going about an hour, and I don't care as long as you don't. Uh,
No.
but here's the crazy one. Okay, I've been with Spinju. It'll be 6 years the day we get married. She has a son. His birth date is March 4th, 30 years after mine, to the day. This child, this young man, I should say, should have been mine biologically. We think the same, we act the same, we laugh the same, we talk the same, we tell the same jokes, we enjoy the same things. This kid is mine on every level except biological.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
very.
there is no doubt. Like he says his mom was just going through a rough go and probably hooked up with me somewhere and just doesn't remember. But no, it's that close and parallel. Like he is just me 30 years. Like, I watch him do the same shit I do and literally have to like palm face, like, dude, we've done this before. Fucking smarten up. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
it's close.
I think what that is, man, is because like, and I'm definitely not comparing kids to pets, but I think it's like a great now. I'm not. They're two different animals, but the analogy I'm going to use will kind of carry over to with what I'm saying. So it's known that pets take on appearance and personality traits of their owners. We're not biologically related to a dog by any means. I mean, we share DNA if we're going by the consensual narrative, but we're not biologically related to them whatsoever, but then somehow they end up taking on our some of our features, some of our personality traits and things like that. I feel the very same could be for children. I mean, you have been pretty much the primary dad in his life from what I know, and it's almost as if that he's your energy and his have almost become unified in a sense. That's the best way because you can that's what that love does, you know what I mean? And that's why love is just a very strong, powerful thing. But no, I think that is it because you are the primary father figure in his life. You've been mostly the father to him and he has taken on your personality traits. He has taken on some of your mannerisms. He's taken on, and it's a wonderful thing. I think that's beautiful, man, because like it just goes to show that family is not just blood. And that's just something I think that is a underrated thing. You know what I mean? And you're his family, you're his dad, at least in the aspect that you are. And I think that's why it happened, man. I think that on a soul level, he is yours. 100%.
I would agree to that. And before we go, I want to hit on the people and
Yeah.
pets thing too, because this one's funny as shit. I picked out Buck Rogers, our husky, right? And
Yeah.
when I picked him, he had ice white blue eyes and they just looked dope on his brown body. I was like, that's the one. I want that one next. Since we've picked him up, actually, when we went to pick him up, his eyes are the same color as Spinja.
No way. That's really cool,
No
dude.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
I will, when I edit this, and I'll show you after. When I edit this, I'll put a picture of Spinja's eyes and the dog's eyes. They're fucking identical.
Wow,
And
man.
it's
And
like,
like,
how did that?
and so this is why love is so interesting, man, because you have to think like when we look at our animals, they're our family. We love them. They love us. I mean, we're technically their entire world, when you take a look at it. And because of that, I think the love has something to do with it, man. I really do. And that's why I say that love is just not an emotion that we feel. It can manipulate matter. It can freaking it's a force. It's an energy of some kind. It's more than just an emotion, man.
And you just kind of triggered my nerd. Well, of course it is because our emotions have frequencies. We evolve and function on frequencies, right? So if you're loving somebody, that projected frequency is going to mess with their, not mess with, but intertwine with their energy that
Mhm.
they are. So I think that's absolutely right.
It is, man. It's love. Love does interesting things, man, and that's one thing too. Like I hope I have two goals before well, technically three, but the third one's a personal goal. The other two are for like the collective goals. And first goal is to really find out the true origins of humans. That would be the first goal before I leave this earthly plane. And the second goal is to study love, man, and study it from an energetic level, not just from an emotional level, but to study it with like an energetic level, like potentially use different types of equipment to try and measure when people are in this frequency of love, the matter around them, what happens and things like that. Because have you ever noticed I'll use this. So, have you ever noticed like when you're with a group of people that you love, and I mean wholeheartedly love, not just like half love, but I mean like family, really long time friends, very close friends. And you're sitting there chatting up with them and have you ever noticed how time slows down?
Yeah,
It's almost as if when you're in that frequency with these people you love and you're enjoying their company, they're enjoying yours, and you guys are having a great time. The perspective of time in that area starts to slow down. Because I've had conversations with people I love that I thought were 2 hours long and only 35 minutes had gone by. And I was like, holy shit, we have more time to talk. And like it would just continue. It's different than when you're not in that state. And sometimes time can move very fast. Like, especially like when I first wake up in the morning before I do my practices and my training to help stabilize myself, time seems to me to be moving very fast until I get to that place. And then I control what I feel is the flow of time after that. And I kind of divvy up my perspective of time on how I see fit throughout the day. But like when love is involved, man, it's just crazy. Weird things happen. Weird things happen. Just like I said. So that's one thing I hope to see before I leave the earthly plane, is to see an actual study or experiment done on love from an energetic standpoint, not just a emotional standpoint.
I think that would be really cool to see because, like, with this new understanding that I'm getting of the energies of the universe and stuff, I absolutely would be down just to even see what emotional frequency does on a whole. Because, like, it's something we can't perceive with our bodies, and it'd be absolutely amazing to be able to see, like, I said I loved you to Spinja, and it hit her, and she smiled, and her capillaries changed. To see it on that base level, I think would be amazing.
It would be so surreal, man, and it would open the door. It would open the door to, I mean, I think it would answer a lot of questions, but it would bring forth some more, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? I think it would solidify a lot of what we think, and then we would have to kind of like dive in a little further and be like, okay, so how does it affect other things as well? So, like, I mean, you can even see it too. The best example of it too. I mean, with Dr. Emoto. I mean, Karen talks about Dr. Emoto a lot with um the frequency experiment with water and water crystals. I
Yeah,
mean, we see when we project love towards things that it makes the thing more beautiful. It makes it create this beautiful geometry, these beautiful crystal formations, things like that. So we can see with that as well that projecting love at something will ultimately change the outcome of it. So that's even kind of what I would say is a stepping stone or a little stair to the next experiment that we're talking about.
yeah. I totally want to do that sometime because, like, now you've got me thinking, like, could you imagine how quickly you could prove how detrimental some AI is? Because, look how it makes him feel. That would be the major hindering point on that, because they would not like if we could prove how fucked up this stuff makes us.
Oh, 100%, man. And that's why, like, I think, but the good news is it's I'm starting to see it fall apart at the seams ever so slightly. I think people, and that's why I'm very patient, man. Like, like I get into my moments where I feel like I could be doing more, and I feel like there are things that, whether it be my own perspectives or, of exterior circumstances that I've allowed for the time being to inhibit me from doing certain things. But then sometimes I take a step back and I look and I'm like, man, it is slowly coming undone. It really is. It's very slow, but if you look closely, it's like a tiny thread is just falling at this point, and then it's going to gain momentum until we start getting rid of seams and then layers and stitch points of this all. So I think what's going to happen, Don, is this, and this will be my synopsis, is in a world of perceived negativity, the general collective right now perceives the world as being negative. Obviously, it's a perspective. I think everything in some ways is completely perfect the way that it's happening. Even though I have my days where I get angry and frustrated at it, don't get me wrong, but it is perfect. But in this world of perceived negativity, I think the collective is going to hit a point where it's had absolutely enough of it and they're going to start reaching for positivity. They're going to. And I will be patiently waiting here for that moment because that's where people like you and I are going to come in, and we're going to help in this situation. So like, yeah, man, I think you know, we have some very good things to look forward to as far as that goes. And other than that, I mean, if you guys have any questions about training your subtle body, you know, any questions about the subtle body system, the different aspects of it, feel free to reach out to me. I'll give you my contact info once we do the goodbyes and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. And, you know, I think the point of all of this is get control of your energy before somebody else does, because you
100%.
can change a lot of things around you. And before I go, I absolutely relate to what you were just saying, because Spin and I always joke, like, most days I feel like I'm sitting here going, I am waiting for a bus. It feels like, holy fuck, catch up, right? Like, but no, we're here to help, and we'll be here to help. And if you have any questions about any of this stuff, reach out to either of us. And if I can't answer it, I'm sure I can find somebody much more knowledgeable like Stephen to put you in touch with. On that note, I want to thank everybody for watching. Oh shit, you have control of the meeting. I'll have to get you to stop it.
You're all good,
Thank
man.
you,
You're all
everybody,
good. So,
for watching.
no, no worries, man. No worries.
Thank,
So I go ahead, Don. What were you gonna say?
just thanking everybody for watching.
Guys, Don, of course, man, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, guys. You can find me with Don on the Forbidden Knowledge Network at forbiddenknowledge.news. You can find a lot of great other podcasts there as well, like Chris Matthew, Ryder Lee, Charlie Robinson, Corey Hughes, all those guys. You can find me also on Rumble, YouTube under BGcast. You can find me on all social media under BGcast as well. And Don, this was a great convo, man. I was glad I could come on and chat with you about this, man, and kind of spread the word.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Anytime, man, anytime. Well, everybody, let's have a good night. Take care, everyone.